Mystery is revealing a story in an engaging way. It means you tell people a little something that draws them in. You tell people something that they probably don't even know they want to hear or need to hear. A great example, and I'm unashamed of using Mac because I think they're just way out ahead of the bunch in their sector, using Apple. You'll have seen the TV commercials for their new ludicrously thin laptop. And they reveal mystery. There's a beautiful bit of mystery there, because the first thing you see is what are those called? Those sort of internal dispatch of envelopes. You know, the sort of things, the buff envelopes with the different names on. Sorry?
Oh, sorry, I think it was a jiffy bag.
Yeah, I don't think it is a jiffy bag. I think it's one of those really flat envelopes that you write different names on that go around. Internal post things, yes, that's right. And the first thing you see is one of those, and out of it slides a laptop. Now, you wouldn't normally put those, a normal laptop simply wouldn't fit in one of those, because this envelope has no sides, it's flat, if you know what I mean. And it literally reveals before you the thinness of this thing. And then there's a beautiful moment, visually, where they show it in profile, like that. And it's so thin, you can almost not see it. And they haven't told you anything about it at that point, technically. Technically, they haven't made any brags at all. They've just made you think, oh, there's something kind of beautiful about it. So that's mystery. It also tips into sensuality there, as you can tell by my strange reaction. But mystery is about revealing a story. The second one is sensuality. And what I mean by sensuality is, remember, we're not just visual. When people talk about brands, people they're talking to often think they're talking about the logo. The brand is not the logo. Whilst we are involved in visual identities, I'm not particularly intrinsically interested in logos. I'm not a designer. Logos are, much as names are a sort of peg that you hang meaning onto. That's all logos are. A visual peg. Sensuality refers to remembering that we have many other senses. So this is why this Apple thing tips into there. You kind of want to reach out and touch this thin computer. We have other senses. We have taste and we have smell, and we have touch and what are the other ones? We can hear things. But we also have different senses, and not just those 5 sort of physical senses. We have a sense of space. We have a sense of time passing. We have a sense of orientation. We have sometimes a sense of history. So don't think even that sensuality just refers to the 5 senses we normally think of. You can engage people in other senses. If you imagine that you are, let's say, promoting an historic building, okay, you can imagine what senses can you bring in then? Not just a sense of touch and sound and so on, but also a sense of sort of awe. Most brands don't really think too much about that. But if they do become sensual and engage you, they can really win you. To Barclays' credit, I mentioned Barclays earlier on, a few years ago they tried to come up with a scent for Barclays, a Barclays aroma. And the idea, well, you laugh. You've probably heard me say this before, this is absolutely true. I used to work on the Barclays advertising account when I was with another agency. And I worked quite a lot with their internal creative director. They had a sort of in-house creative director, very clever guy, called Philip Green. And he was lobbying very hard at the top of the organisation to have a Barclays scent, and the way it was going to be dispensed, this scent, was when the cleaners cleaned the branches overnight, the stuff they sprayed on the counter was all going to have this scent in it, and they had perfumiers, if that's the right word, trying to create the scent. In the end, he kind of got shut down by it. The senior people didn't quite have his imagination, and they said, we don't want that. But the idea was that wherever you went in the world, Barclays Bank would have a sort of smell it was meant to be I kid you not, it was meant to be the smell of people looking after your money. Now, I don't know what that I don't know what it smells like, but I sense it smells kind of blue and silver and with, in line with Barclays. At the time, they very much wanted to position themselves as being strong, serious, slightly reserved. They didn't want to be the friendly bank like First Direct. They wanted to be something else, and it's good to have a different position. And the scent some of the people thought would bring this to life. It never really happened, but it's easy to laugh at, and I laughed as well. But if you think about the advice you get from people about selling your house, put the coffee on, bake some bread. Those things matter. That sense of lighting. I wanted these lights up here. I wanted these turned on. I didn't want these turned on just because I wanted it to be brighter. It's because without them, there was something slightly chilly in the room, and I wanted a bit of warmth. I wanted to see sort of a warm light on people's faces, and that was partly why this is important. So, sense is important. The last one, intimacy, doesn't mean anything sort of dodgy in any way. What it refers to simply is treating people as individuals. It means getting as personal with them as they want you to be, as they're comfortable with. It's not the same as stalking, which is what Tesco's do. I'm very uncomfortable with the notion. I won't have a Tesco's club card because I don't really like getting those things in the post that say, we know you bought 17 cases of wine last month. Maybe you'd like to buy these ones. Or so, I just feel silent. I think it's just like it's tipped over. By contrast, however, I don't mind it with Amazon, where I go to Amazon and they say, you might be interested to know that Keven Roberts has written a new book because you bought this one. Or more interestingly, and more cleverly in a way, you bought this book by Seth Godin called All Marketers Are Liars 3 months ago. You might like to know that someone Seth Godin mentions in this book has now got a book out. And I think it's really clever. Or, flattering you might say that sometimes they say that Seth Godin recommends this book. Or that people who bought this book also bought book X. And I think that's okay, because I don't feel as though they're invading my privacy. I don't know what the subtle difference is. I can't really explain it to you. But it feels intimate without being over-intimate. Now, if you can think about your businesses, large or small, if you can have an element of mystery, but revealing a story, paying it out a little bit at a time, engage more than just the visual, and somehow speak to people as an individual, not as a number,